Hi, I'm Randy,
I'm Hannah.
and this is our Milwaukee Public Museum vlog. And today we'll be combining the concepts from our advanced kinesiology class with things that we saw in exhibits at the Milwaukee Public Museum. So, our first thing we're going to be talking about is the comparison of environment versus posture. And we're going to be looking at specifically Middle America and even more specifically a 20th century Guatemalan market. So in this exhibit, it's pretty clear that proper body mechanics were not exactly being practiced, and in this setting, it happened as a regular occurrence every day. So our thesis for this particular exhibit and why we thought that people could have different postures because of their environment was that due to the fact that mass amounts of farming were in this area at this time, it led to very central based marketplaces and very large with a lot of readily accessible variety of goods and services. And the villagers then carried those new goods to and from their outlying towns. The distances could then vary in length, and the comfortable alternative then for carrying these goods was to use packs strapped to the back, which you can see in this picture. With this new extra added weight, depending on the distance that they were carrying it, really added different curves to their spine and really accentuating their thoracic kyphotic curve severely. Seeing this then was a frequent task. Like I said, it was an everyday occurrence, these marketplaces. So you can see clearly the effects on the spine as well as the knees, hips, arms, ankles, and really the entire body and posture as a whole in the human. And in the image, you can see both the shopper has a hunchback from holding the pack and bending over at the marketplace, as well as the seller on the ground. I mean, they're just kind of going through a fruit basket, but you can see that themselves are kind of hunched over. And this comparison is really good to our environment in the first world 20th century, or 21st century rather, college students, because I mean, quite frequently we ourselves are hunched over at a desk typing for however many hours a day, and it's just the constant repetition of daily tasks and just not knowing your body mechanics and just like whereabouts that really you don't really notice it over time.
All right, so we look towards another exhibit as a reflection of our second thesis, which is that the people of the pre-industrial Philippines cultural focus on agriculture significantly impacted their everyday gait. So due to a lack of technology and efficient methods for collection of crops, these people would spend hours and hours each day bent over unnaturally at the hips, knees, spine, and ankles. So these people held this position, as you can see here, for almost the entire workday, and that caused extreme pressure and alteration of their joints and muscles. So in this position, you can see that the Filipinos most likely suffered from short hip flexors, knee extensors, and dorsiflexors as they were set in that bent over position for many, many hours, almost every day of the week. So this can cause a multitude of different gait problems, one of which being difficulty extending the lower limb for an effective propulsion during the gait cycle. So this is important because propulsion is essential for progressing our gait from a stance phase into an effective swing phase. By shortening the hip and knee muscles, the ankle and foot are also affected, causing disruption down the chain of the foot and its main function here as a rigid lever. So in this position, you can also see that the workers have a kyphotic curvature of the spine and the thoracic and cervical areas. So due to this curvature, it shifted their center of masses anteriorly and outside of the body. So due to these long hours that the Filipinos worked, it's likely that they also expressed this curvature and shift of center of mass during their everyday gait. So this anterior shift causes an increase in the moment arm seen at the hip and knee, as well as in the ankle. And this increased moment arm cause an increase in torque at the muscles, meaning that they now have to work harder than they typically would. So this can create many, many different imbalances, compensations within the gait that can lead to things like malformation and pain. So in our current culture, the struggles of agriculture are much less prominent. We now have technologies that have the ability to do farming and crop gathering for us, meaning that it's not really necessary for us to gather our own crops in this way on a daily basis. So though this may not affect us directly, this exact scenario, it is important to note that this position is not uncommon. So it's often seen in people who are not familiar with proper body mechanics, bending down to pick up objects. So many daily tasks, you can see a person in this position that's almost identical. So it's our job to have the ability to point out locations of abnormalities, what those abnormalities may lead to, and how we can correct for this.
So always looking at the exhibits in the past, being from Milwaukee myself, I can truly see like how my biomechanics background, even my small amount of it, really can apply to all these different exhibits looking at humans and their both past culture and current culture. And it really, my key point with the thesis I was making was that the impact of the just everyday body mechanics really does impact common posture. Just over time, doing the same motions and being in the same positions really does affect the human as a whole and their standing posture.
So I think also it's useful to realize how culture and environment will be different for each patient that we encounter. So these exhibits truly show the discrepancies between how people use their bodies, and it's definitely important for us as PTs to be able to know how to tailor treatments to people from different environments and cultures.
Bye!